a start.
Strong start
Straight
as
in,
always.
mate. Straight in.
So this is a new podcast that myself and my good friend Joe, we're gonna start doing, hopefully on a monthly basis, if not a weekly, if not a bi-weekly, if not a fortnightly, who knows?
On some sort of regular
basis, yeah. Which we're gonna call Joe and Peter's Football Ramble.
Because our original ideas are just...
I like the Joe Show.
Oh, Peter. Basically, the concept of the show is, we're obviously keen to have listeners and have fans and people, hopefully, when we get cameras sorted watching this. But it's just two mates who have known each other for many years, talk about football. And hopefully you guys can agree with some of the points we make. It's not going to be just one of these shows. We'll talk about weekly fixtures as the whole concept of the show. We're going to talk about topical things in football, and hopefully we'll get your views on it as well. That's it. We're just two guys who love talking about the sport.
It's mainly going to be Premier League, unless Newcastle get relegated again.
Which would make me cry.
Yeah. But we'll touch on Champions League, and I'll have a talk about the SPL.
Mr. Celtic fan over here.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to start us off with, Peter?
I want to start off with, I know we're sort of midway through September, but I'd quite like to start with the transfer window.
Yeah.
There's been some very good, successful deals in the transfer window. Since it opened, but there's also been some questionable ones. One of the ones I really want to talk about, not because I don't think he's a good player, but because I think it's a bit of a pointless transfer, was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Oh, the Oxlade-Chamberlain deal. I don't necessarily think it was so much of a pointless deal. Oxlade-Chamberlain is one of those players that can, it might cover the entire right side of the field.
Yeah. My
question is his price tag. Do you really think he's worth £40 million?
No, I don't. I think somewhere in the region of about 18 to 25.
I would have said 25. But then again...
But he's British, so, scale it up.
Yeah, also, at least it's not 30 million for Musa Sissoko. Of course, we're reaping the benefits of us Newcastle United fans. He's got a very, very unfortunate stat, does Mr. Oxlade-Chamberlain. In his last 2 games, he's played for 2 separate clubs and conceded 9 goals.
It's not a it's not a good stat to carry along with you, but
obviously it's only 1 game. But it's not the best start to a Liverpool career.
No.
And, as an English player, I hope Oxlade-Chamberlain gets what he's after. I hope that he finds success at Liverpool. He had 6 relatively good years at Arsenal, and won a few trophies down the line. But I find it hard to see where he nails a regular first-team player in that squad. That's
my issue with the signing. Don't get me, he's great. He is a very good player. He's just... Liverpool's kind of, covered in all the positions that they've signed.
Yeah, if you think about it, he can cover the entire of the right wing. At right back, you've got Nathaniel Klein, an England fullback. On the right side of midfield, you've got the likes of Mohamed Salah.
Mm-hmm.
On the right wing, Felipe Coutinho for now.
Well, he might disappear. He probably won't, though.
For now. He's there until at least January. We're recording this on the night of Liverpool's first match back in the Champions League, and Coutinho's been named on the bench. So he is there for now, but in January, who knows, he could be gone.
I know he can also play up the middle as an attacking midfield as well, and again, it just sort of feels as though that's covered. I've always
guys like Firmino who can play that role. Yeah. I know Lovelock and Firmino is more of a striker this season there with the number 9, but they have plenty of options in that midfield. So I think it's a weird one for Oxlade-Chamberlain. But then again,
I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he does very well.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. He's got that England support. I think he's made that move with the best intentions of he needs to nail an England place. He knows that his England place is going to be called
Oh yeah.
into question in the next 9 months. So he has thought about getting on that plane to Russia. So we'll have to see where it goes.
But crossing over to the other side of Merseyside.
Yes, the Blues side, in my opinion, one of the better transfers of the window.
To be fair, most of Everton's transfers have been outstanding.
Yeah, you look at the signing of Gylfi Sigurdsson, one of the most in-demand players
We'll look at his first goal
of last year or two, and he repays him by immediately scoring from inside his own half in the Europa League. Gylfi's been one of the better signings throughout. One of the better players, throughout the last couple of years of the season. Everton have just continued with the great signings as well. Something to do with the Romelu Lukaku money, I would imagine.
No, definitely.
But it's more of a free transfer I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's the very free, very cheap transfer of boyhood Everton fan Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, another one who immediately repaid the faith by scoring on his return. If we look past the recent transgressions of Wayne Rooney, the drink driving incident, which
we'll concentrate on the pitch.
Yeah, we'll concentrate on what the guy's done on the pitch over the last 15 years for Everton, for Manchester United, now back at Everton. Everton have been given Manchester United's all-time scorer, England's all-time top goal scorer for free.
I mean, you can't really argue about it. I mean, okay, he's not what he used to be, 6, 7, 10 years ago, but he's still a very good player. And okay, he might have dropped back a bit from the striker role, but just the wealth of experience he can offer, both, sort of on the pitch and on the bench and the dressing room. He's fantastic move from him, just to go back to the club that gave him everything.
Yeah, you're looking at a man who's 32 years old, who is heading into the twilight years of his career. He knows that in the next 34 years, he's probably not going to be playing anymore. But he's a guy who can retire comfortably. He's not stayed at Manchester United just for the money, which a lot of people might have suspected he had, like he would do, He's gone back to the club that he loved, the club that he started out in. When the world was introduced to Wayne Rooney, the 16-year-old after the fantastic goal from Arsenal, who drove a really bad Ford car with his own registration plate.
Wow.
No one could have predicted that 16 years later, this man would have achieved exactly what he's done. He's won numerous trophies for Manchester United. He's made himself a peak name in England football. You can't argue with his on-field behaviour at the very least.
Well, swearing down the camera probably wasn't his best move, but hey, I mean...
Look at Dele Alli.
Dele Alli can go to hell.
Yeah, I think Peter's still better over the first day of the season.
Yeah, that wasn't very...
But John Joe shouldn't have been an idiot.
John Joe Shelby shouldn't...
and we're gonna talk about some...
Of course we'll talk about Newcastle. It's all we want to talk about.
Yeah, we're both avid Newcastle United fans. We're both raised in the Newcastle area. The final day of last season is what made us want to do this podcast. So you're gonna hear some Newcastle talk. One more transfer that I'd really like to talk about is the transfer of Alvaro Morata.
Go on then.
70 million in today's world for Alvaro Morata. Sadly, with them having the Real Madrid and Juventus tag, it's probably the least that you're going to be expected to pay. He's scored a few goals in the Premier League so far. I know we're only 4 games in. He looks like he's going to replace Costa.
Well, Costa's thrown all his toys out the pram. He's having a big huff and he's having a har. And...
Costa's heading back to Atletico, in my opinion, and good riddance.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, if the guy doesn't want to grace the Premier League, that's on him. But do you see Alvaro Morata being the 30-goal striker that the Premier League needs? Obviously, in La Liga, guys like Leo Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Suarez, and at times Morata can make hitting those targets easy. But
I
in the
don't
Premier League,
I
it's
don't
quite
think he
difficult.
is, because I think it's got a lot to do with the quality of the Premier League sides. No disrespect to the La Liga teams, but once you take out, your Barca's, your Real's, your Atleticos, the quality drops quite heavily. I mean, I know teams like Valencia and Sociedad are very good in their own right, but you've just got to think sort of like it really is a big three in Spain, whereas in well, at least in the Premier League, I mean, you've got both the Manchesters, you've got both the North Londons, both the Liverpools to a degree, and then you've got your Chelseas, and then teams like Stoke are ridiculously difficult just to break down.
Yeah.
And it's.
I think Morata's heading for maybe 20 goals.
I'd like to see a good goal scorer for Chelsea. My mum's side of my mum's twin sister's husband is a manic Chelsea fan, and he's been through it all since. I mean, he was year high, and his whole family were QPR fans when they were growing up. So like his dad used to take him into the ground and sit there in a huff. But yeah, he tells me stories about when they were just awful, and now he's loving being one of the big powerhouses, if not the big powerhouse in English football.
It's got to feel good. Obviously, I know a lot of that has come from the Roman Abramovich money, but
I don't think you mind when you win in trophies.
At the end of the day, the managers and the teams are playing with the cards that they're dealt. If they've got the money, they're not breaching fair play rules. They're not doing anything wrong. They're doing exactly what they need to do. So you can't really knock them for that. Before we move on to a change in the transfer window ruling that will come into effect next season, just very quickly, what transfer in January would you like to see? If you could have one transfer happen in January, who, to where, and why?
I'd like Benteke out of Palace and to a team that's actually going to provide for him.
So, not in the Premier League?
Pretty much,
because I feel like Benteke is running out of options.
Oh, I think he'd do very well at someone like Dortmund.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, there is a big gaping hole now that Lacazette's joined Arsenal.
Mm-hmm. He'd suit the French league.
I think he would. It's a bit slower.
Yeah, I think that would suit him.
So it's a shame because he's a very bright, very good player, and he's sort of wasting away.
Yeah, I think it's a big issue. He's got this big hype around him. Didn't have the best of careers at Liverpool, following a quite decent spell at Aston Villa.
Yep.
So, he's got this big tag on him, and it hasn't really worked out for him at Crystal Palace. And I'm going to talk about Crystal Palace when we look at the league table and the fixtures, because I have a wonderful view on Crystal Palace.
Well, they have just sacked their manager
and then rehired.
Why?
Yes. Other than seeing the Coutinho transfer go through, because I would rather just see the end of the saga, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Yep.
I really don't know who I'd like to.
Anyone at Newcastle. Anyone.
I mean, if I had my way, I would see a striker come in. But we say this every single time.
We say this every season. We need a striker. We need a 15 to 20 goal striker.
Yeah, we've been saying that in the Premier League. Obviously, we know Gale got 26 or whatever it was last year. I'd just like to see an old school striker at Newcastle United. If you look at Alan Shearer,
we never replaced him.
No, we didn't. We got small guys like Ober Martins, guys like Papi Cisse.
I think Demba Ba's probably the closest we got, and then he fizzled out. But when Cisse, if we hadn't got in Cisse scoring the goals, then I don't know where we would have ended up that season.
Who knows? But I'm already looking forward to seeing what January brings up. It's normally the quieter of the two transfer windows, so let's.
They're all quiet on hindsight.
Well, yeah. Okay, the big change in the transfer market coming into effect in the Premier League season. So the transfer market will close, or the transfer window, sorry, will close the Thursday before the Premier League starts. I think it's like the 9th of August at 5 p.m. The good thing is I won't miss the transfer window closing anymore due to work. Joy of being a school teacher.
Well, hey.
What's your take on that? Is it good? Is it bad for the Premier League? How does it affect? It's a huge change for the top flight of English football.
All I can say is about time.
Yeah.
Because I'm sick of trying to sort of suss out who's going to be in your team. And I mean, the season's already started, and you've got players like we'll go back to Diego Costa. He's throwing a huff. The transfer window was still going on, and he was not playing for his club. Surely, if it ends, then it's right. It's done. It's finished. Tough, you're in the squad, or you can just release yourself if you want to pay your own buyout clause.
Yeah, I look at guys like Riyad Mahrez, who made it quite vocal after everything with Leicester last season that he wanted out.
Yep.
And there were guys like Roma, guys like Arsenal who are putting in club record fees to try and get Riyad Mahrez. But Riyad Mahrez never once spat his dummy out and said, "I'm not playing for the club." He led by example. He's got a couple of assists in the Premier League. And ultimately the transfer didn't go through. He might still want out, but he's still going to put in the shift. Because at the end of the day, it's just going to...
You're going to put yourself in the window.
Yeah, it's just going to decrease the value. But obviously this means that players can't swap clubs when they've started for a Premier League club in that window. You look at Alexis Sanchez. Now his transfer to Manchester City didn't quite materialise on the final day of the season. But if you can imagine him starting the first 4 games for Arsenal and then going to Manchester City.
Yeah.
If he'd gone to a different club, like, I don't know, Paris or Barcelona, it wouldn't have made that much of a difference because he's playing in a different league. It doesn't affect them unless it's in the Champions League. Oh, wait, Arsenal aren't in the Champions League. Oh! Sorry, I had to get that in there. But if he goes to a different league, it doesn't make a difference. If he plays in the same league, it's just going to cause madness. So the league window closing beforehand limits the problems with the Premier League internally. It doesn't mean that the Championship, League 1, League 2 have to follow suit because they're run by the Football League.
Yep.
But it's expected that when they will vote on it and it will more than likely pass.
Probably, yeah.
It also doesn't change clubs from outside of Europe purchasing Premier League players. So say, for example, the window shuts on August the 9th, and for some odd reason Diego Costa is still a Chelsea player. If Atletico Madrid wanted to buy him on August the 22nd, they still could.
Right.
It just means the Premier League teams cannot purchase past the transfer window closing.
Fair enough.
I think it's a bold move.
Oh, it's
a very, very bold move, but the Premier League are the kings of making bold moves.
Oh, yeah. I'm all in favour of it. I really don't see a downside, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think everyone wins.
It's a smaller transfer window as well because the transfer window will open the 1st of July, which means clubs only have 5 weeks.
And it'll stop these long, drawn-out sagas and will they, won't they? It'll be, you're going to or you're not.
At least when it comes around to the January transfer window, they're going to have half a season to say, right, you've done this. If you really want to go, you can go.
Yep.
Because after January, there's not as much commotion about it. So I'm like you. I'm all in favour of the transfer market.
Excellent.
Or the transfer window closing. Before we move on to the Premier League table and discuss how it's going after the first 4 games, I want to talk about the situation with referees over the first 4 games. And I think the referees are getting too stuck to the rule book over the first 4 games.
Well,
we've seen a number of contentious decisions since the start of the Premier League season. None more so than the incidents between Sadio Mane and Matt Ritchie this weekend.
Very similar.
Unless you live under a rock or you're not too into football, There were two incidents in the Manchester City-Liverpool game on Saturday and the Swansea-Newcastle game on Sunday, where Mane and Ritchie both went for a high ball. Mane caught his opponent Edison Moraes, the goalkeeper for Manchester City, in the face. Ritchie did not catch his opponent, which I believe was Alfie Mawson, in the Swansea game. Ritchie got a yellow card for the high boot, but Mane was sent off.
Was he only sent off because he drew blood?
If you think about it, did Matt Ritchie make contact?
I don't even think he did.
I don't think Matt Ritchie made contact, so I think the referee has booked him for the high boot.
Yeah.
If you look at it in slow-mo, Matt Ritchie is immediately apologising to the player and saying that he's got his eyes on the ball. Now, how much of that has to do with the Mane incident, we don't know, but he only has eyes for the ball. He doesn't make contact. Mawson doesn't go down. If Mawson goes down, Ritchie's probably off the field.
Yep.
But Ritchie stays on the field, and obviously with Mane, he levels Edison.
Oh, he's out. He's gone.
Yeah, it's a miracle that Edison's playing tonight. Edison's starting in the Champions League tonight. I think he's wearing some Petr Cech type of protective headgear.
Oh, yeah.
But the guy needed a few stitches. The guy was tested for concussion. Obviously, he's come through that. First of all, was Mane's a red card, do you reckon?
My problem with it is, he's looking at the ball, he's going for the ball. Okay, he doesn't quite get the ball, but there's no intent. I mean, you've played football on the playground when you were in school and when we were mucking around in sort of university and that sort of thing. If there's a ball up in the air and it's dropped out, you will put your foot out to try to either scoop it down or do whatever with it. I don't think there can't be any intent of, I'm going to go and kick that goalkeeper in the head. You can't, no.
The only other thing that he can do there is go for his head, and Mane is clearly out-jumped by Edison Moraes. He gives him nearly a foot in height, so he has to use that leap. And also, Edison Moraes is an outfield player at that point. You'd come up with his box and try and head the ball away. So Edison Moraes puts himself in that position. I must admit, I didn't think it was red. I thought it was very harsh. I can almost understand why, but I think maybe the referee has stuck to the rulebook too much, and we know John Moss has got a tendency with his red cards. I believe John Moss was the referee in the Chelsea opening game of the season. I could be wrong on that, but he sent two players off that game in Gary Cahill for a tackle that wasn't a red card, and Cesc Fabregas. I wonder if the blood has done something.
I honestly think the blood has got a lot to do with it. Just the fact that he's physically drawn blood, and I think the referee's seen the red and gone for the red.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are saying that the Matt Ritchie tackle is a lot worse. And this, I'm trying to take as much bias out of this as possible. But if Matt Ritchie doesn't make contact, he's literally a carbon copy, and doesn't make contact with Mawson. How is that any worse than what Mane did?
Yeah, the Ritchie one. I mean, in the interview he gave post-match, he did in fact say, "I'm very lucky to get away with just a yellow card." Obviously, I was watching the Liverpool game and I saw what happened, and I think credit to Ritchie for holding up his hands and said, "Shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have been sent off."
I've seen people and talked to people who have talked about retrospective action for Matt Ritchie. It doesn't look like anything's going to happen now. If it was, it would have happened
Jurgen
before
Klopp's
now.
Be furious.
But Jurgen Klopp is probably going to be very upset because Liverpool now are without the player of the month in the Premier League for 3 games. The ban was upheld. They didn't try and appeal the suspension altogether. They tried to lower the amount of games for it, but the Premier League have said, nope, it will be 3 games. I think it's a little harsh on Mane.
I think it's very harsh on Mane, but it's not like you can do it. This just sort of got to knuckle down.
I think ever since the Petr Cech injury, head injuries and all that have been taken a lot more seriously.
I mean, it's a good thing, to be honest, that we're taking the head injuries that much more seriously, and if you're concussed, no, you're going off the pitch.
Yeah, it's almost the view that rugby has taken. Immediate head injuries, you're off the field. But ultimately, the red card will stand, and you can't help but feel a little bit harsh for Marnie on that, because you can see immediate remorse in his eyes when he's coming off the field. He doesn't want to come off until he knows that Moraes is off the field, and the referee said, "Look, you need to leave the field because it can increase the ban if he doesn't leave the field." So yeah, all in all, I think it's very hard for Marty and for Liverpool, but Jurgen Klopp's going to have to knuckle down. I suppose this is where Oxlade-Chamberlain earns his stripes.
Well, he's going to have to step up and make a name for himself, and who knows? I mean, he's probably not going to outshine him, but...
No, but we'll see what happens. Shall we talk about the Premier League table?
We'll talk about the Premier League table.
Go for it, Peter.
Pretty much what I expected to be looking at, with the exception of Huddersfield.
Okay.
I'm very impressed with Huddersfield.
Yeah, Huddersfield have made a very good start in everything. 7 points from the opening 4 games, which you can't argue. Peter's just getting his glasses up.
So I can actually see what's going on.
Watford, also a surprise package. Unbeaten in 4 games.
Yeah, they are.
8 points. The top 3, very, very predictable. The 2 Manchesters and Chelsea.
Spurs coming up close behind Watford.
Putting the pressure on.
Well...
Hey. Newcastle, after a rough start. I know we're going to talk about Newcastle in a bit, but Newcastle first 2 games were all doom and gloom. Newcastle are in for a long season. But we've got back-to-back wins. We made West Ham look basic. A 3-0 win of top standards.
I mean, lots of people are arguing that West Ham were very poor. I don't care that West Ham were very poor. In all honesty, I don't think West Ham were very poor at all. I think that they weren't at their best, but they're still a Premier League club. They're still a Premier League team.
But we followed that up with a scrappy, albeit
captain
performance victory over Swansea. And in a way, we would have taken 1 away point. We got 3, so we can't argue with that. Arsenal, quick off the marks, and then they've slowed down a little bit. I wonder how much of the European
is going over
thing has got to do with that. They were involved in one of the best games I've seen in a long time at the start of the season, the 4-3 to Leicester.
Yep.
Before going off the bubble recently. It's a shame because they've got such a good squad in Lacazette, Sanchez, and everything like that.
I think that it'll pick up. I mean,
yeah. Brighton not doing themselves any harm. They're comfortable in the mid-table.
I think that's where they'll finish, in all honesty.
Yeah,
Brighton.
It's the big games that are going to let them down, but they've got to be winning the scrappy ones. The teams like Bournemouth, the teams like Burnley and Huddersfield and Watford. You would expect Watford to go off the bubble at some point.
Yep.
But Marco Silva's obviously doing what he needs to do. The bottom 2 clubs really haven't had a good start.
Not really, no. I mean,
but one manager has lost his job over it.
I mean, between them, they've conceded how many?
Between them, they've conceded 15 goals, and between them, they've only scored 1. Bournemouth have made just about as bad a start as Palace have, but Eddie Howe still has a job. In Bournemouth's defence, the goal that they scored was spectacular.
It was very nice.
It was the Charlie Daniels goal against Manchester City that was given a goal of the month.
I was going to say it won Match of the Day's goal of the month.
It won the Premier League score.
It won the Premier League score.
It was beautiful. But 1 goal in 4 games from a midfielder is not sufficing. If you look at Bournemouth's strike force, they've got Callum Wilson, they've got Josh King, they've got Bennett Afobe, they've got Jermaine Defoe, who's one of the greatest strikers in Premier League history.
Yep.
I said it.
He is. You can't
150 goals. You can't deny it.
You can't deny Jermaine Defoe. I mean, if you just look at what he's done for Sunderland. He kept them up 2 seasons.
Twice.
He single-handedly kept them up for 2 seasons. Without his goals, they would have been long gone.
How many? I know Bournemouth have got a lot of sort of loyalty to Eddie Howe, having taking them from the bottom to the top.
But how much patience have they got?
Yeah, do they give Eddie Howe much longer? Do they give him a set amount of games?
You'd like to say yes, but look what Palace have just done.
In today's climate, it doesn't work. You take a guy like Frank de Boer from Palace, who had 4 amazing seasons in Holland, took Ajax to league titles and whatnot. You've given him 11 weeks. You've given him 4 games. And
I mean, okay, we get it. You haven't scored any goals. You've been on the end of a couple of slightly embarrassing results, but well, you knuckle down, you get on with it.
At the same time, how much of it is down to the manager?
Well, that's the thing. If the players aren't, I mean, playing 3 at the back wasn't going to work.
No,
it's just not.
But guys like Van Aanholt, guys like Zaha, guys like Benteke, guys like Mamadou Sakho, now that he's finally back at the club.
But
I think Palace are in for a really, really long season. That's despite Roy Hodgson coming in. If you look at his career and everything that he's gone through, it's not a bad acquisition.
Well,
for Palace,
he's got a lot of experience. He's been there. He's done it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know his time in England wasn't amazing, but he got did take us to the tournament.
Well, this is true. It did more than Steve McLaren did.
The Wally with the Brolly, aye.
Yep. Early thoughts right now. Who do you think's going to end up at the top of the Premier League at the end of the season?
Top. I don't know. I think the obvious choice is one of the Manchesters. You'd like to say United because they just look pretty much unstoppable.
They look amazing. They have an amazing squad, one of the best in the world right now.
Yeah, City. I'd prefer City over United just because I don't like Man United.
I'm the other way around. I'd prefer United over City.
Oh
to be
no!
honest.
No!
It's like us with Rangers and Celtic. What are we doing?
But I don't know. I've always had this sort of nostalgic twinge for Arsenal. I'd like to see Arsenal come back in and challenge for a title in a meaningful way. You know, something to give them something to shout about, because I liked Arsenal.
Yeah, obviously the 3 FA Cups and the Community Shields you can't really look past, but when was the last time we won the league? It was the Invincible season, wasn't it?
Was it? Was it that long ago?
Yeah, it was the Invincible season.
Christ.
And Arsenal have been nowhere near it since. You know, the year that it looked like they were going to get runner-up, then, it was Tottenham that got runner-up and then ended up third.
Yeah.
But
thanks to a 5-1 drumming.
By who?
By
us! Yay! It's a shame because for Arsene Wenger,
it'd be nice for him to retire with her.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think the squad's coming in. You know, guys like Lacazette or marquee signs. If you've got the service by Ozil,
if Sanchez
pulls his finger out and sticks with it, then who knows? But I just wonder how much Wenger's got left.
I would like to see him retire gracefully before getting sacked, because he's pretty much the only manager most Arsenal fans will remember. Well, most modern Arsenal fans.
You think of guys our age, there's only a couple of managers who have been in charge of Arsenal in the 24, 25 years that we've been alive, and most of them don't remember, like George Graham.
Oh, well, no.
All they know is Wenger.
All you know is Wenger, and it sounds weird, but every time I think of certain teams, I still think of Man United as Sir Alex's club.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's taken a lot of adjusting, getting used to him not being there.
It will do. You know, Fergie was at Man U before even we were born.
Yeah.
And he didn't just create a club; he created a dynasty. That's what he wanted. 12 Premier League titles, 2 Champions Leagues, World Championships.
He's done it all.
He's in my opinion, the greatest manager ever.
I can't even argue with you.
That's what these clubs need. And Wenger obviously has his Premier League titles and everything. Not as successful in Europe as Manchester United, but he's got Champions League finals under his belt. I just wonder how much time Wenger's got left in this job. He signed a 2-year contract extension before the start of the season. Does he do those 2 years and leave? And if that's the
I'd
case,
like to think do those 2 years and retire gracefully. Just
if that's the case, you see Arsenal winning the league in the next 2 years.
and honestly, I would love them to. I would really, really like Arsenal to win the league. I think I've still got a soft spot for Thierry Henry.
Oh, of course, definitely. When FIFA comes out, I'll be looking forward to playing with Thierry Henry all the way through Ultimate Team if I have my way. Just a quick last look at the league table. There's two things I want to point out. Number one is West Ham.
Well, they've picked up some points and they've scored some goals. So, but they're also, have they conceded the most?
Yes, they are the only team to have conceded 10 goals in the Premier League so far.
So that's, I mean, it's not great. But
No.
I didn't get to see the West Ham game, but I am told that Hernandez has been pulled back a bit to play as a sort of an attacking mid or like a second striker to make room for returning Andy Carroll. And Andy Carroll, I mean, he's
struggling forwards here, aren't you?
yeah,
he's very injury prone. Is Mr.
Is the
Andrew
problem?
Carroll.
He is a good player, and especially when he gets the service of sort of like the high balls into the box, and he can use that height and his power to really put teams to the sword. Like in the Championship season with Newcastle, he was dangerous. He was absolutely fantastic because we played to his strength. He was a big, tall lad. West Ham don't seem to be playing to him as much as they should because I think they've got some very exciting players in the past couple of years. Like I know any Hammers fans don't really want to hear about Payet again, but
oh dear.
Well, yeah, I know he became a bit of a sourpuss, but
you know the guys that they've brought in over the summer, they spent 25 million on Marko Arnautovic.
Very good player in his own right.
Joe Hart in goal. Joe Hart gets slated, but at the end of the day, he's still England number one. Guys putting the service into the box, as you say. You've got Marko Arnautovic and guys like that putting that service in. Guys like Andre Ayew as well. The question is how regular does Andy Carroll play? If you play the 4-4-2, you could probably get away with playing Hernandez just behind him.
Yep.
But Hernandez has now got his reputation as a goal scorer after his exploits with Leverkusen.
So I'd play him all day, every day. I'd play Hernandez in front of maybe a midfield 5.
Well, it's like the top of a 4-5-1 maybe.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I think teams like your Palaces, your Bournemouths, your West Hams don't necessarily need to start looking to let's score some goals. Let's stop the goals first. Take a boring 0-0. Take a point.
Yeah,
and then start working on a way back round.
I think that's how West Ham need to start getting off the ground. Obviously, they have one win under the belt, but they are coming off the back of the loss to us. Oh no, that was the week before. I'm sorry, Newcastle win is
it's brilliant. We've won 2 in a row.
We live in the moment.
The last time we lost the opening 2 games of a season, and then picked up some points, we went on to win the league. So,
did we?
Yeah, lost the championship.
Oh,
first 2 games.
I was going to say, not the top flight. The other one I want to bring up was Tottenham Hotspur. Obviously, we know they're not at White Hart Lane this season.
They seem to be struggling with Wembley, whether it's too big, too daunting.
How quickly do the Wembley woes disappear? Can Tottenham Hotspur pull it out?
Tottenham will play against a team like Crystal Palace, us, because we're a bit leaky at the back, Bournemouth, one of them. They'll scrape a 1-0 or a 2-1, something like that. and I think it'll all disappear. There's a lot of superstition in football, and footballers themselves are, lucky charms or praying on the pitch. And I'm not saying religion, superstition. We'll get into that a different day, maybe.
Yeah.
And we'll concentrate on the football. But I think lots of things like goalkeepers tapping their boots on goalposts before they hit a goal kick. Not necessarily just to dislodge any, clarty bits of mud on. Good luck. Get it up the pitch as far as high as it can go, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think it's just a case of waiting for that right result. I hope that's not against us in March, because that's a long way for a Wembley win.
Well, I wouldn't mind so much.
Well,
maybe if Tottenham are all the way.
I doubt half the league would mind so much. I think it also depends on how much focus they're going to put on Europe this season. Obviously, they're in the Champions League, and they really need to get over.
I would love to see a lot more of the British clubs much further in the Champions League. I think really just because of the Man U Chelsea Champions League final. I think it was one of the most highly anticipated finals, except for Dortmund Munich.
Probably Dortmund Munich, yeah. So let's find out how the Wembley issues go. Should we talk about Newcastle?
Or should we talk about Newcastle? Where do you want to start? The lack of transfers, or
yeah, it's been a bit of a grim one for Newcastle United. Obviously, we keep going to the back of the 2 straight wins thing, but we just haven't got any money coming into this club. Why?
Well,
because we've got an idiot running it.
Well, I mean, we now have sleeve sponsors. That's a thing.
Yeah. So for the first time in Newcastle United's history, we have an Indian sponsor. And they are MRF Tyres, so I believe we're an Indian tyre maker.
Yep.
So we have more money coming into the club. Why aren't we using it on transfers? We have players that we need. We've struggled with defenders over the first couple of games. With injuries like Lejeune and Dummett. We're struggling with strikers at the moment. Put some money into this club.
Well, the main problem is Mike Ashley keeps saying there is no money. All of his money is tied up in Sports Direct. And he keeps saying he regrets buying the club and he hates it. If you hated it so much, why hasn't he taken a cut? At one point, I think he was batting around the figure of 300 million he wanted.
Which is just ludicrous considering he bought the club for just under 100.
I mean, that's only 1.5 Neymars. So,
yeah. If he hates the club so much, take a cut, take 25% off your asking price, get shot of the club. He's trying to be ambitious with the club, saying that he's not going to sell it until Newcastle get in the Champions League or they'll win something. We're not going to do that.
We're not going to do that when we don't have anyone investing in. I mean,
Bingo.
we'll have a lucky season. Like the season we finished 5th with Alan Pardew. A lot of it was luck. Papi Cisse scoring that screaming bendy shot against Chelsea. Absolutely fantastic. A brilliant goal. How lucky is that though? How much luck had to go into him managing to hit it like that? The same with Kabai's free kick against Man United. Underside of the bar, dipped in. Lovely free kick. If it's an inch higher, it rebounds.
And that's a 0-0. That can make the difference with us finishing 5th. We desperately need some money put into this club, and I think every person who watches the Toon or supports the Toon thinks that. I want to get your views on Mikel Moreno. How's he been in the first few games?
It started off as a very, we've got another Jack Cole back.
Mm-hmm.
And he's becoming a fan favourite. He reminds me a bit like when we first got Czech Tiote, and he started to become the holding midfielder. But he's going forward as well. He can pick a pass, he can see a pass, he sees how the game's going to start playing out. The only problem I've got with him is that absolutely pathetic dive.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Obviously, the Premier League brought in new rulings about diving. That if you're caught retrospectively, it's an immediate 2-game ban. Now, he hasn't been brought up on the charge yet.
But that's because no one protested.
No one protested it, but if the referee sees that and goes, actually it was a dive, the Premier League do have grounds to charge him.
Exactly.
Is he trying to adapt to the English game, or is he, like, as in, seeing what he can get away with?
Do
you reckon?
I hope he's
or do you think
not
it's just
trying.
silly?
I think it was a moment of, we could really use another win. And he's sort of
Do you think he's panicked and just thrown himself onto the floor?
I hope next time someone grabs him and says, "Don't hurt yourself on the floor, mate."
Yeah, because it's just stupid. Because Moreno looks like he's going to get more game time.
Well, with John Joe Shelvey being a bit of a knobhead.
Yeah. Shelvey obviously was on the bench for his return from 3 games. That's another one that's an issue with Newcastle United, is the disciplinary wars. Obviously, Shelvey's just served 3 games. Mitrovic is in the middle of serving 3 games. Ritchie is lucky he's not serving 3 games.
Yep.
Moreno can count himself lucky if he doesn't serve 2 games.
And then you've got the injuries, Dad. You've got Dummett's out injured. You've got Lejeun's out injured. You've got Gale sort of, kind of, but not.
Yeah, but at the same time, 4 games in, yellow cards are going to accumulate, and suddenly, like, very soon, we're going to start losing players to 1-game suspensions, and then 2-game suspensions
We
for
have
yellow
not
cards.
got the squad depth. Our left back position is, it's a bit bare. It's Jesus Gomez, who I think he played a very good game, but it's just about the only game I can really remember seeing him play.
I sadly forgot that Jesus Gomez still played for our club.
Yep. It's a shame. I think he was really brought in to sort of motivate and give sort of like a this is how we would have done it. This is the sort of thing we're looking for. A bit of a training ground boost.
Yeah.
But he put in a good shift, and he's excellent on FIFA. So
if I'm Jesus Gomez, I'm riding that, and I'm keeping it going until Dummer comes back, and then I'm making Dummer fight for the place.
Where's Haidara?
I don't know, because I thought he'd gone out on loan, but apparently he hadn't.
Because he is our other left back, and
recognised left back.
Well, I know Kieran Clark can play a full back, and so can Jack Colback, but apparently we don't want to go anywhere near Jack Colback and Kieran Clark.
Kieran Clark's now needed as a centre back.
Yep.
In Mbemba's stead, because Mbemba's got a knock. Our defence is currently reading Manquillo, Mbemba, Lascelles, and James.
Yep.
Luckily, Lejeune was on the bench on Sunday.
Yep.
Probably was never going to see some game time, but he was on the bench, so he's on his way back. And I rate Lejeune. I know what he was like in La Liga, most exceptions last year in La Liga, where it is a tough league. So he's come in with a bit of a reputation and something of an aura to him. You don't want to rush him back.
Oh no.
But it looks like he may not get back for the game on Saturday.
Going into the game on Saturday, it's Stoke City or never an easy game.
Oh, look at how they performed against Man U.
They did exceptionally.
We'll talk about the Newcastle game as we go through, because we're about to talk about the fixtures. Unless there's anything else you want to talk about team related.
Only that I'd like to start seeing Iossi Perez used as a striker.
Yeah, he's been playing more of that supporting.
Either an attacking midfielder or a second striker or a winger on occasion. And then lots of people are having a go at him, saying, well, he's not putting in the goals. Well, that's because you're not playing him as a striker. He's not in the position. And he's shown that he can score goals. Okay, I mean, most of them have come in the Championship. But, I mean, he's knocked in a couple against Spurs and Southampton he got one against last season as well. I just think it would be an absolute shame if we've taken this lad from Tenerife, brought him into the English game, given him a half a chance, and then gone, oh, sorry, you weren't good enough, and booted him away.
He's very passionate for the club, as well as Iossi Perez. I think Gale works as a supporting striker if you want to play Perez up front. My problem with that is a lack of strength. You know, you haven't got a big, broad guy up
Yeah.
front. A guy like an Andy Carroll or a Christian Benteke, a Romelu Lukaku or an Alvaro Morata. You've got two relatively small guys. Obviously, they make up for it in pace.
Then at the other side of it, you've got Mitrovic, who he's just a loose cannon. He's great, and he's a crowd favourite, and he's not afraid to throw himself in, and he'll go up for a header. But that's his problem. Is we don't know which Mitrovic we're going to get. We're even going to get someone who sort of looks a little bit like he could be a very, very good player. You know, he could be our number 9 going forward, and then he cracks someone in the face with an elbow when, 15 years ago he would have got away with that because it would have been oh well, get on with it. But now there's all this retrospective action, and he needs to realise he needs someone like an Ian Wright or a William Gallas or an Alan Shearer or a Roy Keane to grab him, throw him against a wall, and shout, "What are you doing, you absolute clamp?"
I think it's going to be worth the captain and the manager putting him to one side and saying, "Look, you're a 22-year-old guy. You know, you're not daft. You've come to play for a club that you say that you absolutely love. You've got a big price going forward. You know, we paid the same amount of money, pretty much, that we paid for Alan Shearer to get Alexander Mitrovic. The chances is he's probably going to be in a man at this club. I think there are other more suitable options. Currently at Bolton, I'm a huge Adam Armstrong fan. I think he's going to be hopefully in there soon, but realistically, big money striker it's going to be Mitrovic. The captain, Lascelles, and the manager Benitez really need to be pulling him and saying, "Look, you have a big future at this club and a family to provide for.
Yep.
Pull your finger out your backside and stop looking for excuses."
I mean, he would have been great, Mitrovic, about, the 96 season.
Yeah.
He would have fitted into our squad fantastically.
Oh, of course he would.
The problem is it's 2017 and people are dabbing on the pitch. So, Right, weekend's fixtures.
Starts off, Peter. Let's look at the Friday evening kickoff.
Friday evening. Well, so Bournemouth, Brighton. Bournemouth, you'd like to think, are going to pick up some points at South Coast Derby.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd like to think there'll be a lot of passion and a lot of pride. Like you say, there's not a lot of points for Bournemouth at all, really. Not a lot of goals either. Mm-hmm. Brighton been fairly impressive. About the start, I think everyone assumed they'd have a bit rocky,
Mm-hmm.
But it's first time in the Premier League.
Yeah, they started with 2 losses. A very tough loss to Manchester City on their opening game of the season. They've come back with a goalless draw at Watford and then scored 3 in the victory at West Brom. This is the first of 2 matches for these clubs in quick succession. They play each other on Friday night and then they play each other in the League Cup on Tuesday, so they're going to get to know each other very well.
Yep.
It's hard. Like, I'm a big Chris Hughton fan. Being a Newcastle United supporter,
Chris Hughton. Don't understand why he ended up getting sacked.
I feel like this may be the game that Bournemouth finally kick into gear.
I'd like to see Bournemouth do well. They feel like a nice, without any disrespect to Bournemouth, like a family-run club.
Yeah. Obviously, we've mentioned the Eddie Howe connection, and they haven't got a bad squad. They just need to start firing some goals in.
Oh yeah. Because if not, I mean, Bournemouth are. If they don't manage to get a couple of goals or a win or even a draw, you're going to seriously be looking at Bournemouth relegation fodder.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to be down there?
Yeah. They really need to start firing on all cylinders. And I've made a note that I'm a big fantasy Premier League football player. My one to watch in this one is Callum Wilson, because Wilson really needs to start finding some goals.
Well, if not, you'd like to think Jermaine Defoe was going to find some form soon for them, or I know he's been used more of a sort of an impact substitute. Oh, he's not getting as long a game time as a striker should, maybe. But you've got to think he is. I'd say he's getting on there, but I mean, he's in his mid-30s. Any other job that'd be, well, you've got another 35 years to go. What are you doing?
Yeah. Prediction. What are you going for?
I'm going Bournemouth 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I think it's going to be a scrappy Friday night game, but I think Bournemouth need this to pick themselves up and get back in the hunt to stay up. I don't think it's going to do much harm to Brighton in the long run. I think they're going to be okay, but I think Bournemouth need this, so I'm going to go with 2-1 to Bournemouth as well.
Right, moving on to the Saturday.
Yep, so first up we have the lunchtime kickoff. Crystal Palace versus Southampton. We've already discussed Palace's problems. The worst top flight start since Preston in 1923, who also went 4 games, no wins, no goals.
It's not been anything to cheer about by any means. And at home, I know Selhurst Park, they can really get the crowd behind them. But Southampton were a bit stop-start. They've got some very, very good players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, both of the teams have got some very, technically and sort of tactically, the two very good teams. And I really don't know how it's going to play out. Is Roy Hodgson going to manage to actually make an impact? Is he going to get people to start playing the way they should be? And then you've got Southampton, who are on that day. Southampton can beat anyone.
Mm-hmm. Do you think this comes down to the two centre backs? Sorry, if you look at Palace, they've just signed Mamadou Sakho for 26 million, club record.
Yep.
And Southampton have just retained the services of Virgil van Dijk.
Another player
who is fodder to the transfer window problem.
I think it's going to be. I think you're right. It's going to be which centre back fancies it the most.
There's not 100% guarantee that either of those players are going to play, but if the fit logic would dictate that they're the guys you start with.
I'm going to put a bold prediction out. I'm going to go Southampton. And I don't think Palace are going to pick anything up. I think it's going to be about 3-0.
You say without a goal?
Without a goal. Palace aren't going to pick up a goal.
I don't think Southampton are going to score as many as 3. But I do agree, I don't see Palace scoring. The goal will come eventually, but I don't see it coming against Southampton. I think Roy Hodgson's first game in charge, he's still going to have to find his feet. It would be nice to see Palace end this rut and get a goal. But
not Southampton.
I don't see it coming. I'm going to go Southampton. I'm going to go with a 1-0, personally. Both those games are also viewable on Sky Sports.
Sky, please drop us a sponsorship.
Thanks.
Right.
3 o'clock time. The following 5 games are all Saturday 3 o'clock kickoffs. Huddersfield versus Leicester.
I think that'll be a very nervy game. I think Huddersfield now realise they're not immortal.
Yeah, Huddersfield obviously got off to an absolute dream start their first few games, but they've been brought back down to earth a little bit.
Leicester struggling to find their feet a bit again.
Yeah, which is a shame because after everything that happened with them winning the league a couple of seasons ago.
I think the fans will take that all day, every day, though. At least they've won the league.
Yeah. They do have a very loyal fan base. They're like Newcastle United. They have a very loyal following to Leicester City. I'm keen on them. I think Huddersfield at home need to be retaining as many points as possible. Leicester have still got players that are going to put shifts in.
Yep.
The likes of Riyad Mahrez, Jamie Vardy, some of the new guys who are coming in as well. Huddersfield again also have some half decent players. That Aaron Moy, who came from Manchester City, Stephen Mounier, who has come over from France and put in a couple of really, really good shifts. I see this one being quite neutral.
I'd see a draw.
And I'm going to go with 1-1.
I was going to say a score draw, either 1-1, 2-2.
There are goals in this game. So 1-1 works for me.
The next one, honestly, I can see Liverpool-Burnley. I can see Liverpool walking it. I think Chris Woods might pop up a goal.
Yeah, Chris Wood, obviously dream debut for Burnley, getting a goal after his signing from Leeds. Liverpool could do with a win.
I think they're going to be all cylinders forward, and I think it's going to be. I'd like to see. I'm a bit indifferent with Liverpool. I'd like to say, I really like Liverpool. You know, they're a more northern team. They're not like a Manchester powerhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But they did also kind of mess up us winning the league a little bit.
He's still bitter about that.
Still bitter about that, yeah.
21 years later.
I think Liverpool will walk it comfortably. I think it'll be like a 4-1.
Yeah, Liverpool are owed some goals. I think a big factor, obviously, we've mentioned the Mane situation. Mane could be replaced by Philippe Coutinho, I suppose, in that attacking midfield. Coutinho is on the bench for the Champions League, which has just kicked off as we're recording. If he decides that he's actually going to put some shifts in and get himself out there so he can get his release from Liverpool to go to Barcelona in January. This is the time he needs to do it.
Put yourself in the shop window. If you want to leave, that's fine. Don't do it by being a huffy little mare. And
if Coutinho comes back and starts bossing performances, putting the service in for the guys like Firmino and Salah, it's going to be a difficult day for Burnley. You said 4-1.
4-1.
I'm going to go 3-1. I realise a lot of our results are identical, but I see Liverpool putting a few past. Maybe Chris Wood popping up with a goal, as you say, for Burnley. But I'm going to go with 3-1 for Liverpool.
Moving on. Vicarage Road. Watford City.
Watford, Man City. It feels weird seeing City at a 3 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, because they're normally, we will show this, but I think the appeal of, you know, the South Coast derbies on the Friday, and I'm not sure.
There is one hell of a Super Sunday as well.
Oh yeah.
Man City, they've got a squad that should envelop.
They should walk
Watford.
it, and
they
it should be
them.
They should be putting about 4 or 5.
But Marco Silva has got that squad together. This is technically second versus fourth in the Premier League. It'll take a hell of a result in the.
I'd like Watford to come out with a draw from it, but I honestly think City will sort of run riot.
The thing is, City have a full strength team, and City with a full strength team is not good. The only player that you obviously they haven't got Vincent Kompany because of his injuries, but they're gonna have Moraes back. They're gonna have Edison back in nets.
The only problem with Edison is he does like a run off the line, and Watford have got some very quick wingers and forwards.
Manuel Neuer likes a run off the line. He's the best goalkeeper in the world right now. So
I don't know. Shil Ramiobi would put 4 or 5 past him.
Are you mad?
I mean, as long as it was point blank range.
This isn't Barcelona 2003, Matt. By contrast, Watford have got a hell of a list of injuries.
Oh yeah.
Britos is suspended. Pereira is rated 50-50. Sebastian Prodl is rated 50-50. There's no Craig Cathcart. Yunus Kabul, one of the more experienced guys in the squad, is also out as well. So they are missing some big names. And again, City at full strength. The guys like Aguero, Kevin De Bruyne, Leroy Sané, who was brilliant off the bench.
Oh yeah.
Sterling is useless as we think he is. He does have pace for days on that left flank. Even the centre backs and the defence are efficient for City. I see a City victory here.
Yeah.
I think Watford have enough to keep them out for a while, but not for 90 minutes.
Then they'll just.
I'm gonna go for a 1-0 Manchester City.
I'm going for a more. I think if City score 1, City will score more. I think
Mhm.
it'll be a 4 or 5.
I think City should be scoring more, but I think it may take them a bit of a while to break down the Watford defence. I'm going to go 1-0 City. I'm going to say Sergio Aguero gets the goal.
Oh.
If you're a betting person out there, the odds on that probably aren't very good, but go for it. We've roughly touched upon the Newcastle United Stoke game. Obviously, Newcastle riding the 2 victories. Stoke with the great comeback against Manchester United, snapping their perfect start. Stoke have got this incredible squad of Champions League players, like Champions League winners, sorry, like Gerard Zakiri, Jesse Rodriguez, even guys like Ryan Shawcross, the captain, who are brick solid players. Are Newcastle going to find it tough to break Stoke down?
I don't think we'll manage to break Stoke down.
Oh, tough words.
I've always hated Stoke City. The first season Stoke came up, I went to go and see Newcastle versus Stoke. We were 2-0 up at half time, and I turned to my cousin who had borrowed his dad's season ticket, and he went, "I can't believe this lot beat Arsenal. They're awful, they're terrible." I mean, this was the time when we had Viduka in our squad, and
Mark.
and then full time came around, we were drawn 2-2, and I don't think I've ever really liked them since then. I think Stoke are just one of those teams. Every time I've gone to see them, I haven't really left with anything. I think it'll be a 0-0. If I'm being perfectly honest.
Stoke are well backed. Stoke have got a good manager, and like I say, some good team, like some good players. Newcastle at home, obviously a loss and a win. I think these are the sorts of games that we really need to be winning. And Rafa can probably pull this out. Where do I see the goal coming from, though?
Joselu.
Probably Joselu, yeah. I'm not going to go with 0-0. I'm going to go with another 1-0 on this one. I think it's going to be Newcastle United 1, Stoke 0.
I'd take it, but I don't think we're going to get it.
But I don't think the goal's going to come from Joselu. I think it's going to come from Ritchie. I think they're going to really rub salt in the wounds. Ritchie, who should have been suspended, gets the winner.
And then Jurgen Klopp punches a hole through the wall of Anfield and
rebuilds the wall of Berlin and then knocks it down again. That's quite harsh, isn't it?
The Battle of the Wests.
Yeah, West Brom versus West Ham. West Ham really need a win.
West Ham really need a win. West Brom was humbled a little.
Yeah.
I think they've got a point to prove. They've got some very good signings, West Brom.
They do. But they are without Hal Robson-Kanu, who is serving a 3-game suspension.
Oh, yeah.
No, he's due back. Sorry, I do apologise. I remember he was suspended. Obviously, Gregor's Krutajawak, I think his name is.
Yep.
Big Polish international. Very, very strong sort of character in the midfield. Nasser Chadli is due back as well. One of West Brom's big money signings. And Oliver Burke, who came over from the Bundesliga. Scottish international, if I'm correct in saying. He's being assessed for a hamstring injury. He may be back. I doubt he will be. He's still got to get some match fitness in. But West Brom do have a good squad. West Ham, likewise. No Lanzini, looks like he's going to be out for another week. Mark Noble looks like he may be back, but there's no guarantees on that one. West Ham.
Do you think they can find some goals, find some going forward, find a win?
Bilic is in some trouble if they don't keep maintaining performances. Obviously, I know the win in the last game knocked some pressure off Bilic, but another loss to West Brom is just going to put that pressure right back on. It's not as straightforward as many people are thinking.
I don't know how to call this one.
I think West Brom are a good team.
On the day, I think West Brom are one of the sort of like your classic Premier League teams. I mean, they've had a bit of a mixed bag at the start of the season. I'm going to go draw. I'm going to go 2-2.
You're going 2-2. I'm going to go 2-1 to West Brom.
2-1 West Brom.
I think West Brom are going to...
I think the home support might just edge it out.
Yeah, potentially a late winner. But I'm going to go West Brom on this one. And I think it's just going to put the pressure straight back on Bilic.
Yep. It's a shame because he seems like a nice dude.
He's a bit of an angry dude, but he's a good manager. That's ultimately he's good at his job. 5:30 kickoff.
5:30 kickoff. I don't like Spurs. I don't like Swansea.
So you don't care much for this.
I mean, Spurs are a very good team. I just don't like them.
At Wembley, with Harry Kane finally out of August, can Kane fire on all cylinders against a Swansea team who have made some signings over the summer that don't seem to have quite gelled yet?
I think, well, where are Swansea? They're 15th.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to think. Yeah, who have they got? Oh no. Swansea are missing a...
They are missing a couple of players. They're missing Carl Bartley, they're missing Nathan Dyer, Sung Yoon Ki, Leon Britton is 50-50 apparently, according to the injury list. Whereas Spurs have a number of players that can easily come back.
Harry Kane seems to be showing himself very well.
It's no longer August.
Yeah, I think it'll be a combination of Kane and Dele Alli. I think they'll just break down Swansea, especially Swansea aren't. I think Swansea will be very, very disappointed by the fact they didn't get something out of the game against us.
Yeah, for about 70 minutes they should have expected at least a point out of that.
I think Swansea are going to be pushing forward a bit too much, and that's when I think Spurs are very good on the counter.
Yeah.
I think they'll just break them down a bit too quick for Swansea to recover. I'm going to go... I think Spurs will get their Wembley win. 2-0.
I'm going to go with 4.
4?
I don't... If you look at Renato Sanchez, did not have the best of performances against Newcastle United.
26 times he lost
26 times he was dispossessed.
It's not a great start.
Brought off after 60 minutes by Wilfred Bonney, who is still committing a very big crime against squad numbers. Number 2. What are you thinking for a centre forward?
What was Asamoah at Sunderland? 3?
Number 3.
Oh, God. Stick with 9 or 10, lads.
Yeah, but Jan's not a centre forward.
Was he not? I thought he was a centre forward.
Jan's a winger.
Is he? It's even worse somehow.
So he should be okay, but Bonney is straight centre forward. He shouldn't be playing in number 2. He was number 10. Number 9 was free after Llorente went.
So if Spurs are getting 4, is anyone getting a hat-trick?
I'm going to say 4. No to the hat-trick, but I'm a big fan of superstition with players scoring against former clubs. Conte did it last week, or the week before with Leicester, and I'm going to say Fernando Llorente is going to get one against Swansea.
Bold choice?
Bold choice, but fortune favours the brave.
And Super Sunday.
What a Super Sunday we have.
It's the sort of Sundays which actually are super.
It's the sort of Sunday I'm very glad that I'm a school teacher and I have Sunday off.
I'm going to miss the first game, but I should be back for the second game. I'm driving back from Doncaster.
Oh yeah, you're away on a family trip to Doncaster.
So I'll have the radio on.
Chelsea Arsenal is a huge game in any calendar, and it's coming 5 weeks into the Premier League season. You've got 2 of the best squads in the world right now.
Oh yeah.
Chelsea obviously up there at the top of the table. They bounced back off the opening day defeat to Burnley with 3 wins, because they're only a point behind the 2 Manchesters. Arsenal still trying to find feet with their new squad. Does Conte just look at Chelsea and say, let's attack?
Arsenal seem to soak up a lot of forward play and a lot of wing play, but the problem is eventually they always fall back on their boring Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Arsenal need to push forward a lot more. I mean, yes, okay, they did score quite a few goals on the opening day.
4 of them.
But they did also concede.
3 of them.
Against a team who really shouldn't be going and scoring 3 goals against them.
Yeah, obviously Leicester are backed by Jamie Vardy, but Leicester probably shouldn't be scoring 3 goals against Arsenal. Petr Cech should not be conceding that many goals to a squad like Leicester.
I'd like to think it's not a nightmare for Arsenal, but Chelsea seem a bit relentless at the minute.
Yeah, they've bounced back from the open day defeat, and the squad seem to be firing. I'm going to go 3-1 to Chelsea.
I'm going to go 3-2 Chelsea.
To Chelsea.
I think it'll be a very good game, very close game, but I think Arsenal have got a bit of a dribbly bum, and they'll just concede. Dribbly bum.
They got diarrhea.
They're a bit loose at the back.
They're a bit leaky. Jesus, what? I've never heard that saying in my life.
Dribbly bum.
Finally, Manchester United versus Everton. Lukaku plays Everton for the first time since leaving. Rooney plays Man United for the first time since leaving.
Lukaku will have a point to prove. Rooney will have a point to prove.
Rooney will just be hoping that he can put the drink driving thing behind him, because I believe he's actually doing court before
that. Yep. I know there's all the off-field stuff. I know I work in a corner shop, so I get a lot of gossip magazines and newspapers to stare at every morning. I know.
So hard at work.
Oh, I know, right? I know his good lady was on about. She wanted Wayne to have some leave, some compassionate leave, so they could sort out their marital issues. But Wayne, being a lad from Liverpool, I think he'll be a bit too proud to do that. I think
the club have flat out turned it down.
Good.
Everton have said nope, not a chance.
He gets paid enough; he can deal with it.
He does, even though he's only getting half of the wage he was on Man U.
He doesn't really need it though, does he?
Not anymore, at least. Well, he might if Colleen takes half of it.
Well, is he not still getting, royalties from Wayne Rooney, Street Striker? Oh,
I don't know.
What a TV show that was.
I don't know, but if the rumoured stand happens, where Man U rename a stand after Wayne Rooney, he's going to be raking in royalties for the rest of his life.
Yeah, that's a
weird one.
It'll be really nice, and really, he is the goal scorer, but too little, too late. Or should they have waited till he'd retired?
I think they should have waited till he retired. If they go at the end of the day, it would be a club honouring the top scorer.
Yep.
Which you can't knock. I suppose it's going to take someone a long time to score as many goals as Rooney did for Man U ever again, if it does ever happen.
If Rashford stays.
Yeah, I think if you give Rashford 15 years, he could probably do that. But
yep.
we'll see how the money talks. Just on the Man U squad, how lethal is the attack force of Matic? I know Matic is a defensive midfielder, but Matic, Mkhitaryan, and Lukaku. Is that not one of the best trios in football right now?
You see, I'd like to put it up there with MSN, but obviously Neymar is no longer at Barcelona. I think it is a very, very strong going forward. The only thing I'd say is we know what Lukaku can be like. I mean, Everton fans will have seen his huffy, slow walks. When he loses the ball, he's not exactly in a big hurry. Thankfully, he's with a team like Manchester United who will win the ball back for him. He won't really have to. If Lukaku was at somewhere like Newcastle, Swansea, a West Brom, where he had to really graft to get his own chances, I think he would struggle, but with Man U behind him and pressing forward, especially with someone like Matic, he'll whack in a challenge and he'll ping in a ball for him. I think Lukaku we're definitely looking at, if not winning Golden Boot, coming a very close second.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I talked about Match Mkhitaryan and Lukaku. That's without even mentioning Paul Pogba, who we can slate for being a haircut monstrosity, damn nightmare.
A haircutting, dabbing monstrosity.
But the guy's good. The guy can provide service. I don't think on the standard of Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan's already got 5 assists this season.
Yep.
Which is more than Coutinho has ever done in a season. Just going to put that out there.
But then when Zlatan comes back,
that's when it gets interesting.
Are you using Zlatan as an impact sub, or are you saying you're playing him and Lukaku up front?
I'm playing both of them up front, mate. If I have the choice of playing Lukaku and Ibrahimovic up front, I'm playing the deadliest strike force I can play.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would be incredible. They will score bags and bags of goals.
But how long before someone like Rashford says, well, hang on, I'm providing goals, I'm doing everything you're telling me to do?
I think Rashford's biting his tongue, knowing that Ibrahimovic is probably retiring after not the end of this season, but the end of next season.
Yep.
I reckon Ibra will probably stay for one more year.
Would you not be tempted to ask for a loan?
It would be nice because I see Rashford as one of the guys who could take England forward.
He is going to be. Oh, you see, I don't like Lingard.
No, I like Lingard.
Oh no! I was at the Man U the Newcastle Man U game a couple of seasons ago. When Paul Dummett scored a last minute screamer.
Because that's the 3-3, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'll never forgive Lingard. I know I keep going on about dabbing, but my Christ.
But if we take away the dabbing thing, Lingard's actually got some talent.
He's a half decent Man U player. I think if you put him in a...
That's a backhanded compliment, I think.
Well, yeah, if you put him in any of our squad, I think he'd be one of, if not the star of the team. But in Man U, I think he just sort of shrivels into the background. I think the fact that he's getting chosen for England call-ups
is purely because he's wearing the red shirt. He's
Yeah.
no Beckham.
Oh,
but he's young still.
I don't think anyone's going to be Beckham until another Beckham decides to be a Beckham.
Do we have a prediction for this?
You see, I can see it going either way. I don't think it'll be a draw.
It's one of the toughest ones to call.
I think both teams have got a lot, especially Gylfi likes a goal against Man U.
Gylfi loves a Man U goal.
I'm going 2-1 Everton.
Wow.
I'm going 2-1 Everton.
You said that the unbeaten start is over.
Yeah.
That's a bold move, brother.
And I'm going to have Jose Mourinho not talking in an interview.
That is brave. That is very, very brave.
Oh, yep. I might run down to my friendly local betting shop. Perhaps Sky Bet. Sky. Drop us a sponsorship.
But even better. I'm going to completely disagree with you, unfortunately.
Didn't see that one coming.
I'm going to go with a 3-1 to Manchester United. And in keeping with the guys scoring against the Royal clubs, I've Romelu Lukaku bag on one.
Fair enough.
So if you do want to go to Sky Bet, even better, sponsor us. And put on a bet for Llorente and Lukaku to score any time in those games, might be worth the risk. But yeah, that's how I see it going this weekend. And that's it. We've talked about everything that we need to talk about. It's been a productive little talk.
It has.
Like
we say, we're not quite sure how often we'll do these. We'll try our very best to get them out. As often as we can.
Yeah, it depends on work schedules. Obviously, I know I'm very much a fixed schedule, but Peter obviously does work shifts. We will be putting this on like SoundCloud, YouTube. Let us know what you think. At the end of the day, we're not looking for a confrontation or anything like that. We're not even, as horrible as it sounds, looking for viewers or listeners. Obviously, they're nice, but we're just two guys who want to talk about football. You could say we're just two guys who want to ramble
Oh.
about football.
Oh.
But we're more than happy to talk to you guys and hit us up and let us know what you think.
Any feedback, positive, negative, constructive.
Yeah, obviously we know about equipment and stuff with cameras and microphones. We are going to be looking into that very shortly. But just hit us up and let us know what your views are. Let us know if you agree with what we're saying, disagree with what we're saying, but be friendly about it. At the end of the day, we're just two guys giving our opinions and talking football. So let's be friendly. Let's talk about this. That's going to be it from us. I'm Joe.
And I'm Peter.
Enjoy the football, and we'll ramble again soon.